What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the new Sydney Sweeney Amanda Seyfried thriller, The Housemaid. The movie follows Millie Calloway, played by Sydney Sweeney, who is looking for a fresh new start when she gets hired by a wealthy family named the Winchester family to be their live-in housemaid, doing all the cleaning, all the cooking, running errands, all that fun jazz. And this situation for Millie is absolutely perfect. It's a huge house, financial stability since she is on parole, and everything is looking perfect the way that she wants it to be. However, when she starts to settle in, this perfect utopia that she has stepped into may not be as perfect as it once seemed. Now, I have been looking forward to this movie because it's directed by Paul Feig, one of my favorite comedy directors of all time. He directed Bridesmaids, The Heat, and Spy, some of my favorite comedies of all time, but really he surprised me with a movie from 2018 called A Simple Favor. The way he was able to balance all different tones when it came down to mystery, suspense, and comedy. It takes a skilled director to really balance all those things out, and it just absolutely worked. It was one of my favorite films of 2018, and it was one of my most surprising films of 2018. But ever since then, he really hasn't been hitting out of the park with his movies. He directed Last Christmas, which I thought was cute enough, but really didn't do anything special for me. Never saw his Netflix movie that seemed like a X-Men wannabe ripoff. He also directed Jackpot, which was released on Amazon last year, which I thought was one of the worst comedies that I've seen in quite a while. And he also directed Another Simple Favor, the sequel to A Simple Favor that came out earlier this year. So when the trailers for this movie dropped, it looked like he was going to be headed into a Simple Favor territory, and that's kind of what I really wanted this movie to be. And I would have been really disappointed in this movie if it just turned out to be another Paul Feig miss. But I am so happy that he was able to knock it out of the park because I just absolutely love this movie. The movie wastes no time getting into the situation, getting you to know all these characters with Sydney Sweeney's Millie, Amanda Seyfried's Nina, and Brendan Sklenar's character, which I forgot. And so you immediately get to be introduced into these characters. You get to know exactly where Sydney Sweeney's character is coming from and why she desperately needs this job. You have Amanda Seyfried, which you get to know a little bit, but the way that she was able to handle this character, I absolutely loved. Then you get introduced Brendan Sklenar's character and the interactions between not just him and Amanda Seyfried, but also between him and Sydney Sweeney. There's this romantic angle to a certain degree when it comes down to these two. And so what I really enjoyed about this movie is that even though there are a lot of character decisions in this movie that some people on its surface kind of wonder exactly why they are in this particular situation, because you have Millie, who jumps at the opportunity to be able to live in this house since she's living in her car and she needs this job because she is on parole. The first outburst that you get from Nina, you do wonder why Millie is in this situation. Yeah, it's the first time, but you also have to wonder exactly why you want to be in this situation, even though you know exactly where she's coming from and she needs a stable job in order for her not to go back to jail. And so it gives you kind of an explanation as to why some of these characters are doing some irrational decisions. On the surface, normal people would just immediately bounce, but the way that Sydney Sweeney was able to handle the situations and be able to be put against Amanda Seyfried, the chemistry between all these characters are just top notch. Everybody came to play and they all put their best foot forward. None of these are going to be Oscar nominated performances, but the way that they were able to handle these characters, everybody was really casted because everything seems normal on the surface. And you have Sydney Sweeney, who is doing all the cooking, all the cleaning. Nina is kind of off her meds because of a situation that happens. So you begin to get some answers to these characters, where they are in this point in time. And the one thing that I absolutely loved about this movie is the fact that it's just completely unhinged from beginning to end. Everything that Paul Feig was able to bring to A Simple Favor, he brought it back to this movie. The way that the outburst happens with Amanda Seyfried's Nina, with her getting kind of jealous over Millie because of how beautiful she looks and maybe her husband is going to be attracted to her. So when you're going through this entire movie, you do start to question yourself as to why Millie is still in this situation, why she doesn't get out of it, even though she needs this job desperately. There are moments when you start to question it a little bit and start scratching your head, like a normal person would have been out immediately as soon as all the accusations started coming out. But then you also have to think on Nina's perspective as to why she would hire somebody like this, especially looking like Sydney Sweeney. And when you have a husband as charismatic as Brendan Sklenar, all that logic kind of goes out the window. But as the movie progresses, it kind of gives you a little bit more answers as to why everything is unraveling, how everything unravels. And I think that is what makes this movie really engaging, is the fact that you're still wondering exactly how this movie is going to turn out, especially as somebody that has never read the book. I have never read the book, so I have no idea exactly what kind of twists and turns this movie goes on, but it is a roller coaster of emotions, because on one moment you think you know exactly how this movie is going to pan out, then it flips the script on you. You start to piece things a little, so you're kind of one step ahead of the film, but the film is always one step ahead of you, because halfway through I wasn't sure if I was going to love or hate the movie, since it does have that lingering feeling in the back of your head of how all this logic plays out. But as the movie keeps going, you start to get answers, especially when you're looking at the perspective of Millie, and everybody is talking shit about Nina, how she was once in a mental institution, so she might be off her meds. Millie is going through her stuff, trying to figure out exactly what is going on with this person, what is her deal, because there are so many accusations that kind of get on Millie's nerve, and she really desperately needs this job. The chemistry between everybody is just absolutely perfect. The way that Amanda Seyfried was able to project all these outbursts, she was absolutely perfect in this movie, especially when you get to know her character, because at first she kind of does seem like this rich, stuck up person with a lot of mental issues, like she needs to be on her meds every single day. And then you have Sydney Sweeney, who doesn't really know this family. She's trying to get to know them, trying to be the best housemaid that she possibly can be in order for her to keep this job. The chemistry between everybody is just absolutely perfect. This is probably one of the best performances that I've seen Sydney Sweeney in since probably Immaculate. I really enjoyed her in Christie, but I think this is probably her top performance. Amanda Seyfried was perfectly cast as Nina, and once you start getting some answers as to why everything is happening, why some characters are doing some choices, there's a 10 to 15 minute exposition done towards the last half of the film that some people will love, some people will absolutely hate. I absolutely loved it because it makes you rethink the movie a little bit more. It makes you go back and rethink the movie from beginning to end to know exactly how we got to this point in time. And the last 30 minutes of this film is probably some of the best tense and exciting film moments that I've had probably all year. It doesn't reach the heights that A Simple Favor does, but it definitely has those moments. There are moments when you're laughing, there are moments when you're feeling tense, there are moments when it kind of where you kind of know exactly what the movie is trying to say and what it's trying to do. And overall, I just really came out enjoying this movie a lot more than I thought I was going to, because going into this movie, I was really excited, wasn't sure if it was going to stick the landing, and it definitely does. If you're a fan of A Simple Favor, you're absolutely going to enjoy this movie because it has all those tension-filled moments, but it also has those mystery as well. But for me, it's a recommendation for this movie. I think it's worth watching in theaters. It's enjoyable enough. There are moments with suspense. It's really sexy at points, and I just came out with a huge smile on my face. But those are my thoughts on The Housemaid. Let me know down in the comments if this is a movie that you're really excited for, or a movie that you could just care less about. Drop those thoughts in the comments below, and let me know, what is your favorite book turned into movie film?